Hey guys, so this is probably one of the most awkward videos that I've had to produce. I've got a really big financial breakdown, and in this video I'll be explaining exactly what that means, how I let my finances kind of get into the state that they're currently in, and also what steps I'm going to be taking to actually resolve this breakdown. Before I let you know about everything that I've gone through, I just want to let you know what I mean by declaring a breakdown. Like, what the flip is a breakdown in the first place? Is he having a mental breakdown? Does he need therapy? Well, it's not like that. Basically, when you declare a breakdown, when I declare a breakdown, what I really mean by that is that there's an area of life which is really not working. And 9 times out of 10, 999 times out of 1,000, it's going to be something linked to integrity. There's some kind of, core element of integrity which is missing, that has gone out the window, which is why this area of my life is not working. Now, if an area of my life is not working a little bit, then I won't declare a breakdown. I'll just kind of crack on and look at what there is to resolve, and then move forward. But if the wheels really have fallen off the bus and the bus is just been, obliterated, then it's time to declare a breakdown. It's time to get in communication about exactly where you're at and what you have and what you don't have. Because without acknowledging it, without being really truthful to yourself and to others, nothing's going to move forward. Nothing's going to move forward. I could quite easily hide under a rock. I could, carry on what I've been doing in exactly the same way that I've been doing it, expecting different results, but probably getting the same results. And my life could just keep going around that little treadmill, that little, what am I thinking? The hamster wheel. It could keep going around and round and round. But it's time for things to change. So after the best part of a year, I've decided to give this channel another go and pick it up again. And one of the reasons why I decided to kind of put this channel on the shelf and on the back burner was because I was pursuing my dream career as a comedy producer. And there's been quite a few projects that have happened in the last 18 months. I did a pilot for a sci-fi comedy animation. There was a live action sitcom pilot. There was a script called Mr. Social where the BBC said they really loved the idea and then they didn't like the script. And then there have been many other ideas that I've developed and then sent on to the BBC. And I've also been producing sketches for TikTok and Instagram, short comedy little sketches. And I think where I've kind of got to in this point in my life is money has become very important for me. I'm 39, I'll be 40 in November, and I've got a relatively young family. I've got a little baby boy, who's more of a toddler now, he's 19 months, and we live in a pretty rough area. We live in a place called Gillingham in Kent. If you're not familiar, do a quick Google, have a look if you've got the time. It's just rough, it's rough as houses, and I always make the analogy that when I kind of go into the high street, like Gillingham High Street, I don't know if you've seen the film Shaun of the Dead, but it's a little bit like that scene where Simon Pegg, he's walking into the newsagents and he walks out again and he gets like a paper or a drink or something. And there's like loads of zombies like behind him and he's kind of oblivious to like everything that's going on around him. And that's kind of like every trip that I take into town, into the high street. And when I look at like my last 15 years or so, it's quite weird kind of thinking about the places that I've lived, because normally what happens is that you live in a rough area, then you move to a slightly nicer area, and then you move to a really nice area. And I've just done that completely in reverse. I started in a really nice area, Muswell Hill, North London, very nice, quite posh, very expensive. And then I moved to Maidstone in Kent, which was relatively very cheap. And then I got myself in a position to buy, and then I moved to Gillingham. And with my boy now, knocking on the door of 2, it'll be 2 in November. That means he'll be going into nursery school at that point, and we'll be looking at primary schools in a couple of years. The priority importance of money has just really kind of gone up the ranks. quite considerably. There's been one or two things that have happened with neighbours recently as well, where I've just realised that it's just time to move. Now, what that means is that, and what it's basically meant that I've had to do is take a serious look at my finances, because without any kind of cash flow, it makes no sense planning a house move. And the way that I've managed my cash flow for a really long time now is with intention. I've kept it at a relatively low level, and in fact probably in the last year a very, very low level, in order to give me time to do comedy. And it's really weird when I kind of think back about all of the businesses that I created before in the past. I've built and sold 5 businesses. 3 of those were relatively small, and 2 of those were just cash cows. So I know how to generate money. I know how to make money, and I completely ignored it for the sake of time, to really kind of push the comedy side of things. But the comedy game that I'm playing is extremely high risk, and I think that's part of the thing that I've really failed to acknowledge here. It's not like I'm going out doing stand-up, getting a bit of money here and there for different clubs. I'm playing comedy, or trying to play a game of comedy at the highest level you can, which is film and TV. And what person doesn't want to get into that, or what person, what stand-up or what writer doesn't want to be in the world of film and TV at a high level. It's really, really competitive, and the bar is very, very high. I also believe that look, diversity is a great thing. It is an absolutely fantastic thing, and I think the way that the industry has changed is brilliant. It's given many opportunities to many other people, but being a white straight guy knocking on the door of 40, I tick 0 boxes for the BBC and probably most other UK-based networks. Now, I'm not saying that to excuse the failures that I've had, by the way. I completely own my failures 100%. I know that I haven't produced anything good enough yet to get something across the line. I've had things in consideration, but I just haven't had something good enough to get me across that line and get a commission to get everything really up and running with that career. And I can't give any time indication, as rough as it might be. I can't give any kind of indication to my wife or my son. Not like he would listen, right? 19 months, like sit him down. Yes, now here's my business plan, boy. Here's where we're going to move. Even if I could do that, I can't give them any certainty. And we live in this total grey area where we just don't know when or if it will ever happen, by the way. Because, I could play this game until my old age and it might never happen. I've played it for so long now and it still hasn't happened. Yeah, there is a possibility, hopefully quite small, that it might never happen. So after looking at all of this, I've really decided to split my time between business and comedy, because I think it's only fair on my wife. I think it's only fair on my son. And by the way, my wife fully supports me with whatever action I decide to do. If I decided to carry on with comedy and say, look, we just have to live here for an indefinite amount of time until I get that big break, then she probably would. She probably would. But for me, there's a baseline level of integrity that I've been ignoring, which I've now decided to take on. And I think the first part of what that looks like is to reignite this business channel. There's many kind of experiences I could share as with my time as an employer, which was last year through the Kickstart scheme. There is a business that I created, a customizable sport comic business called Football Comics, which that's been on the shelf. That's been on the shelf for flipping ages. So I think it's time to dust off the cobwebs. I think I might need to get a programmer in to kind of tie it up, make sure that everything works, and then get that up and running again. And then, given my business background, there is, I think, another level to take my event hosting, which has been, I guess, the main source of my income for quite some time. I've already kind of gone back and over the last week or so, I've rebranded that business so it looks way better than what it did before. Before lockdown, actually, when lockdown was happening, just as the first lockdown was happening, I had a theatre booked to do a keynote speech, and my idea was to like film it, get it recorded, do an edit, and then start going out and doing keynotes. And lockdown happened, and that just completely went out the window. So there's many things, guys, that could be taking on with this channel from now on. Guys, if you listen to all of that, then thank you so much for listening. Please do like this video, leave me a comment below, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.